It had been nearly a year since I was last home. College kept me busy and, honestly, I didn't miss the place much. My dad had remarried during my senior year of high school, Carla. She was younger than him, maybe late 30s, stylish, confident, and always smiling. Too much sometimes. At first, she seemed genuinely kind, but the way she looked at me sometimes made my stomach turn, like I was being watched too closely. I tried to brush it off. She was just friendly, I told myself. But things started to pile up. The way she greeted me when I got in, long hug, hands sliding just a little too slow down my back. When I pulled away, she held eye contact just a moment longer than necessary. Dad didn't notice, or pretended not to. We all had dinner that night, grilled chicken, wine for them, soda for me. Carla laughed at everything I said, even the throwaway comments. She touched my arm every time she passed behind me. I caught her watching me while I ate, not in a motherly way. It felt like something else. I pushed my plate away half full, stomach tight. Later, Dad and I sat on the couch watching a movie. Carla came downstairs in a robe, bare legs, neckline low. She sat on the other side of Dad at first, but gradually shifted closer. When Dad yawned and announced he was calling it a night, she gave him a kiss on the cheek and told him she'd be up soon. Then she stayed. I reached for the remote, hoping she'd take the hint. She didn't. She asked questions about my classes, said she missed having young energy in the house. I nodded, barely listening, too focused on the warmth of her thigh brushing mine. I stood up, said I needed to use the bathroom. In the mirror, I stared at myself, heart pounding for no real reason. I splashed water on my face. Told myself I was being paranoid. She was my stepmom, married to my father. I was reading into things that weren't there. Still, something in me itched. The way she looked at me. The way she stayed downstairs when she had no reason to. I waited in the bathroom longer than I needed to, just hoping she'd be gone when I came out. But that feeling stuck. Like the room had shifted and no one else noticed. Like something I wasn't supposed to be part of was just beginning. And I didn't know yet what I'd do when it crossed the line, or if I'd even recognize it when it happened. The hallway was quiet when I stepped out of the bathroom. The TV was off. Lights dim. I figured she must have gone to bed. I took a breath and turned toward my room. Then I saw her. Leaning against the wall near the staircase, arms crossed, robe still loose. She smiled like she'd been waiting. "You took your time," she said softly. I froze. "Thought you went up." She took a step closer. I was worried. "You okay?" "I'm fine," I said quickly. "Just tired." But she didn't move. Her eyes drifted down my chest, then back up. "You filled out. College has been good to you." I didn't respond. My mouth was dry. She moved closer, slow and smooth. Her fingers brushed my arm. "You know, when I met your dad, you were just a boy. But now..." I took a step back. "Carla." Her hand pressed lightly against my chest. "Relax. It's just a compliment." But her tone didn't match her words. Her eyes didn't either. I shifted to the side, trying to put space between us, but she didn't back off. "You don't have to be nervous around me," she said. "I'm not going to bite." Footsteps creaked upstairs. My dad, maybe turning in bed. Her eyes flicked toward the ceiling, then back to me. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I won't tell if you don't." She smiled again, small, knowing, then turned and walked away like nothing had happened. I stood there, heart hammering. I couldn't move. What the hell was that? There was no misunderstanding now. It wasn't just a hug. It wasn't imagination. She'd crossed a line. With purpose. And she knew it. I went to my room, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. Everything was spinning. My stomach turned, but not just from shock. There was a sliver of something else. Confusion. Disgust. Fear. This was my dad's wife. The same woman who made dinner for us, who kissed him in the kitchen. Now whispering secrets in the hallway while he slept upstairs. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't even process it all. The moment replayed again, and again in my head. Her words. Her hand. That look. That smile. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't harmless. It was deliberate. She knew what she was doing, and she knew I wouldn't say anything. Because how could I? If I told my dad, what would I even say? She touched my chest? She smiled too much? He'd laugh. He'd say I was imagining it. Or worse, he'd believe me, and it would destroy him. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. But it was. And it was only the beginning. I tried to avoid her. I left the house early, stayed out late, kept my distance as much as possible. But she made it hard. Every morning, she was already in the kitchen waiting, smiling like nothing had happened, asking if I slept well, touching my shoulder as she passed me coffee. I didn't answer much, just nodded and left. The more I pulled away, the more present she became. Every small moment started to feel staged. She'd knock on my door just to ask if I wanted snacks, walk by my room when I was changing. Once, I caught her standing in the hallway, looking at my door like she was about to knock but hadn't decided. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, but then came the note. Folded paper slipped under my door. No name, just a sentence. I'm not the only one who feels this, right? I stared at it for a long time. I didn't know what scared me more, what she thought was happening, or the fact that part of me had almost believed it. I didn't respond. I tore it up and flushed the pieces. But the silence that followed felt louder than anything she'd said before. Like a dare. Like she was waiting to see what I'd do next. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed for hours. I thought about my dad. About what would happen if he knew. If I told him everything. If I handed him the pieces of his marriage and waited to see what he'd do with them. But what if he didn't believe me? She was perfect to him. Supportive. Sweet. She played her role like it was written for her. She'd flip the story before I could finish it. Say, I misunderstood. Or worse, say I came onto her. The risk was too high. So I stayed quiet. But the guilt started eating at me. Not guilt for doing anything, but guilt for knowing and pretending I didn't. For letting her sit next to him, laugh at dinner, kiss him goodnight, while I said nothing. I started sleeping with my door locked. Kept headphones in even when I wasn't listening to anything, just to avoid hearing her voice. I counted the days until I could leave. Each one slower than the last. I couldn't focus. Couldn't breathe normally in the house. It felt like I was living in a trap with no exit. Every time I saw her, I felt that pressure again. Her eyes, her presence, her confidence that I wouldn't speak. And she was right. I was paralyzed. I hated that she had that power over me. Hated that I couldn't just confront her. Hated myself for being afraid. But more than anything, I hated the way it was starting to feel normal. I packed my bag in silence. Just a few clothes, my charger, wallet. No explanations. No goodbyes. I told my dad I was heading back to campus early to help with the project. He nodded, distracted, didn't ask much. Carla was in the kitchen, wiping the counter that was already clean. She didn't say anything until I reached the door. You're just leaving? She asked, without turning around. I've got stuff to do, I said. She turned then, drawing her hands slowly. Is it because of me? I didn't answer. Her voice dropped. You don't have to be scared of me. I'm not, I said flatly. She took a step forward. Then stay. I don't want to be here. A pause. Her expression shifted. Not shocked. Not hurt. Just quiet understanding. You know, she said, if you tell him anything, he won't believe you. I looked at her then. Calm. Confident. No trace of hesitation. That sentence confirmed everything. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't an accident. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she never thought I'd have the nerve to speak up. I opened the door. She didn't stop me. The air outside felt sharp. I didn't even know where I was going at first, just that I needed to move. I walked to the bus station, bought a ticket with cash, turned my phone off. When I got back to campus, I crashed at a friend's apartment. I told him everything. He stared at me for a long time before saying, "You have to cut her off completely." I nodded, but I didn't know how. This wasn't someone I could block and forget. She was inside my family. Inside every memory of home from now on. I kept thinking about my dad. about how blind he seemed, about how this woman had wrapped herself into his life while quietly trying to undo mine. I hated the idea of him sitting across the table from her, never knowing. But I didn't have it in me to be the one to tell him.
Not yet.
A few weeks passed. Then I got a text. Dad, you left so suddenly. Everything okay? I stared at the screen. I didn't know how to answer. Every version of the truth felt like setting fire to something I couldn't rebuild. But silence felt just as wrong. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. I never sent anything. Some things are easier to live with in pieces. I didn't have proof. Just moments. Just feelings. Just words whispered in the dark. But they changed everything. Sometimes I wonder if she's done it before. If I wasn't the first. If I won't be the last. But mostly I try not to think about it at all. Because once you see someone like that, you can't unsee them. And once you know what they're capable of, you stop feeling safe in your own memories.